Institute of Wood Science and Technology, which is very popular for its research work on sandalwood. The earlier Sandalwood Research Center, which was established in this campus, has done yeoman work as far as sandalwood is concerned. As you all know, Indian sandalwood, the culture and heritage of India, which we call as a gift of nature, has been associated since time immemorial in various aspects of our day-to-day life. As you all know, this particular species has been so much overutilized that it has been categorized as vulnerable by International Union for Conservation of Nature. Apart from that, sandalwood had been considered as a royal tree in the states of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, which sort of restricted its cultivation itself. For having reached this vulnerable state, the governments of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka realized its importance, and sometime in 2001 and 2002, certain policies were relaxed, which resulted in massive cultivation of sandalwood. The reason is because its hardwood and oil both are highly valued not only in India but even in the global market. So when we think of cultivating sandalwood, the first important thing that comes to our mind is good and healthy seedlings. To raise good seedlings, we need to understand basic information about flowering, fruiting, seed collection, storage, germination, and ultimately raising of good seedlings. Sandalwood has a unique flowering habit. There are trees which flower twice a year, there are trees which flower once a year, and there are trees which may not flower at all. This is a typical inflorescence which you find in sandalwood. You have white flowers and the pink or a matured purple color flower. So this inflorescence gives you a very nice idea about the entire flowering process. To give you a very clear picture about how exactly are the fruits in a particular tree is, you have an immature green fruit, a partially matured fruit, and a typically purple colored ripened fruit. And this is the fruit which we have to collect. For the sake of convenience, I have just collected matured fruits. Earlier we have shown different stages of fruits. These are the typical matured fruits which are purple black in color. The simplest way to collect this matured fruit is you can just shake the tree, these fruits will fall automatically. This is how a typical matured fruit looks like, and it can be easily found out whether the seeds are matured or not. Just squeeze it. See, I'm just squeezing it. You see this pulp coming out, and we have the typical seed here. This seed has to be just cleaned. It's just a caution that avoid collecting those fruits which have fallen on the ground and the fruit is already dried. It needs more time to clean it. If you collect these fruits which are succulent, the entire process of collecting the seed from the fruit will be very easy. On my palm, I have two sets of seeds. These are the ones which are freshly cleaned seeds which you saw just now. The one which I am showing, which I have lifted right now here, are the seeds that are being collected from the bird droppings. The reason why I am showing these two seeds is, if you can notice the red color in the bird dropping seeds, the seeds that are being collected from the droppings of birds do not need any pre-germination treatment. However, it's very difficult to collect such seeds. In case if you collect some of those, it will easily germinate. These are the seeds that have been freshly removed from the fruits. They'll be a bit wet as they have been washed. The best thing what you have to do is, please keep it under a shade, maybe for an hour or so, not more than that. Avoid keeping it under the direct sunlight. Once the seeds are dried, this is ready for storage. It's important to note that the sandalwood seeds have post-harvest dormancy. That means the fresh seeds should not be used immediately for germination purpose. The seeds can be stored maybe 1.5 to 2 months and then used for germination. However, before using it, we need to give a pre-treatment. The dried sandalwood seeds are now brought into the laboratory, and then we store them in polythene bags for the next 2 months, so that the seeds are safe and not absorbing any moisture from outside, or the chance of any fungal infection are reduced. So these seeds are either kept in the open room, or preferably it's kept in a container which is airtight container, maybe made up of steel, or even if it's a plastic container. At the end of 2 months, we take these seeds for the next process of germination. This is gibberellic acid. Gibberellic acid is a growth hormone which is extensively used while treating the seeds of sandalwood. In fact, IWST had standardized this procedure. I'll just quickly show you how exactly this gibberellic acid solution, 0.05% or 500 ppm parts per million gibberellic acid solution is prepared. Basically, gibberellic acid is in a powder format. It's not easily dissolvable in water. Gibberellic acid gets dissolved in an organic solvent, maybe in alcohol or acetone. I'll just show you quickly how the procedure is. This is 1 gram gibberellic acid powder. I'll be putting it in a test tube. For this 1 gram of gibberellic acid, maybe 5 to 10 drops maximum of alcohol may be required. So now the gibberellic acid is completely dissolved. The same alcohol solution can be directly put into 2 liters of water. So what I mean is 1 gram of gibberellic acid dissolved in organic solvent, maybe like alcohol or acetone. Then once we see that it's mixed properly, it can be put into 2 liters of water. The solution is ready, and then the seeds are soaked inside in that solution. Now I'm mixing the gibberellic acid dissolved solution into water and make it into a liter or a half, depending on the quantity of seeds what we want to sow. The seeds are put inside this, and these seeds are kept overnight for 16 hours in this solution. So usually the practice is by around 4 or 5 o'clock. If you do this, the next day morning, by around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you can collect the seeds, and the seeds are ready for putting inside the nursery bed. Sandalwood is a partial root parasite, and its roots are very delicate. So what we felt was, the sand bed takes care of 2 things. One is proper aeration, drainage, and it's easy for us to remove the seedlings once they germinate. A typical sand bed consists of one thin layer of baby jelly, which we spread it across. Over that, at least around 2 brick height, we put this river sand. So this river sand is brought here after it is sieved, and as you all see now, the bed has been watered and there is no clogging of water. That's one of the reasons why we use this typical sand bed for raising seedlings. Once the seeds are sown in the nursery bed, maybe by 20-25 days, you start seeing the germination. That's how a typical germination starts in case of sandalwood. This is how the germination progresses, and you see all the germination here. So by the end of 1 month, we see the seedlings completely emerging out. Sandalwood has a typical germination, what we call it as hypogel germination, where the cotyledon comes up. Once the leaf starts emerging, the cotyledon automatically falls down. So the next question that comes to our mind is, when are these seedlings to be transplanted into polythene bags? Here is the typical seedling, which we say a 2-leaf stage. we generally suggest that this is the stage when the seedling has to be picked and transplanted. The reason why we say two-leaf stage is the shock bearing ability is much better in case of the seedlings which are two-leaf stage. Also, the roots are quite fragile and it can be easily removed from the sand bed. This is how a typical young 2 or 3 or 4 leaf stage sandalwood seedling looks like. The roots are very delicate, fragile, and sufficient care has to be taken so that the seedling will not be under any transplanting shock. Once the seedlings are removed from the nursery bed, it's immediately put inside the water which has mild fungicide in it. It takes care of one, there's no desiccation shock for the seedlings, and the fungicide takes care of any probable infection that can happen. The seedlings can be transplanted into this polythene bag. The polythene bag consists of growth media which has red soil, sand and compost in the ratio of 2:1:1. Now the seedling is put inside the polythene bag. Sufficient care is taken to see that the seedling is inserted up to its collar level. Take sufficient precaution so that the root is not damaged. Generally, this particular operation has to be done preferably before 9 o'clock in the morning or after 4 in the evening, so that the sunlight does not disturb the seedling's survival as well as the desiccation issues that may emerge because of that. Once the seedlings are transplanted into the polythene bag, the seedlings are kept safely in a controlled conditions for the next 10 to 15 days so that they survive and grow well. These are the last set of germinated seedlings which we primarily consider to avoid it, simply because even though they look healthy in the nursery bed, once transplanted into polythene bag, they may not really take off and grow well. Avoiding such seedlings is always good, because even though they put on growth, once they are transplanted into the field, the success rate would be very less. Once the seedlings are placed in the shade house, after a week, we take care to see that the seedlings are provided the primary host. We use generally alternanthera or mimosa pudica. Mimosa pudica is also known as touch me not. These are the two hosts which we generally provide for these young seedlings so as to enhance its growth and health. Once the seedlings are there for 15 days in this mist chamber, the seedlings are then shifted to shade house, where we provide the shade house with a shade net so that partial sunshine is available for these seedlings. This process of hardening is very much necessary because sandalwood seedlings are very susceptible for sunlight at the initial stage. This is finally how a good seedling should be. The quality attributes of a good seedling is it should be around 30 to 45 centimeters in height. It should have a clean, straight stem, healthy leaves, a leading shoot. Care should also be taken that the stem portion, at least 1/3 of the stem portion, should be partially brown in color, which suggests that the stem is already hardened. The saplings are now shifted from shade net house to open area by the end of 2 months. Now the hardening process begins. Ensure that the seedlings are with primary hosts. The seedlings have to be watered regularly and are provided with monthly nutritional supplements along with the prophylactic measures to control insect or pest infestation or any damages. Once we have all these attributes in the seedling, this seedling is ready for transplanting. IWST has standardized this entire procedure of bringing out healthy seedlings. By now, more than 500,000 seedlings have been distributed from IWST, which has spread across throughout the country. What we wish to say is a pictorial representation of how to raise a seedling, and having a hands-on experience of how to raise a seedling does make a difference. IWST conducts regular training not only to raise the seedlings but also to raise good plantation, understand how to maintain a good plantation, and various activities related to plantation. So kindly watch our website regularly so that you get updates of when the trainings are held. Come join with IWST. Let us strive in reviving the past glory of Indian sandalwood, not only in Karnataka, India, but let its fragrance spread worldwide. This unique species has to be conserved and sustainably utilized. IWST is there for you all. Come join us. We are all there to take care of your sandalwood needs.
For any consultation, training, information and assistance, please contact Plant Tissue Culture Lab, IWST.